You're swiping through hundreds of faces, matching with dozens of people, going on date after date, and somehow you feel more alone than ever. Alan Watts saw this coming 60 years ago, and what he said about love will completely change how you see modern dating. You are going to hear things that my grandmother taught me about Alan Watts and romantic relationships, so listen carefully. Right now, there are more ways to meet people than at any point in human history. Dating apps promise to connect you with your perfect match using algorithms and compatibility scores. But here's the strange thing. People are lonelier, more disconnected, and more frustrated with dating than generations before us who had fewer options. Something isn't adding up. And when you look at what Alan Watts taught about love, desire, and human connection, you start to see exactly what went wrong. Let me paint you a picture. You download a dating app. Within minutes, you're looking at profiles of people in your area. You swipe left on someone because their third photo is a bit weird. You swipe right on someone else because they have a nice smile. You match. You send a message. They respond. The conversation is fine, nothing special. You're already talking to 3 other people anyway. You agree to meet for coffee. The date is okay. They're nice enough. But something feels off. There's no spark. No real connection. You go home, open the app again, and start swiping. Sound familiar? Here's what most people don't realize. This cycle isn't just frustrating. It's actually changing how your brain processes human connection. Every time you swipe, you're making a judgment about another human being in less than 2 seconds. Think about that. 2 seconds to decide if someone is worth your time. You're reducing complex human beings with entire lives, stories, fears, dreams, and personalities down to a few photos and a short bio. Alan Watts talked about something he called the menu problem. He said that when you're looking at a menu in a restaurant, you're not tasting the food. You're looking at descriptions, pictures, words on a page. The menu is not the meal. And this is exactly what's happening with modern dating. The profile is not the person. But we've started treating people like items on a menu. We scroll through options, comparing, analyzing, looking for the perfect choice. And just like when you spend too long looking at a menu and nothing sounds quite right anymore, we become paralyzed by choice. There's actually a name for this in psychology. It's called the paradox of choice. When you have too many options, you become less satisfied with whatever you choose because you're always wondering if there was something better you missed. Back in the 1950s and 60s, when Watts was teaching, people had limited options for meeting partners. You met people at work, through friends, at church, in your neighborhood. The pool was smaller. And while that had its own problems, it also meant that when you connected with someone, you invested in that connection. You gave it time to develop. You didn't have a backup plan in your pocket. Now think about how you approach dating today. You match with someone, and before you've even met them, you're keeping your options open. You're still swiping, still messaging other people. And when you do meet, you're unconsciously comparing them to all the other options you could be exploring. Your attention is fragmented. Your investment is minimal. Because why put in real effort when there are hundreds of other possibilities just to swipe away? Watts would say this is missing the entire point of human connection. He taught that love isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about the act of loving itself. It's about being present, being vulnerable, taking a risk on another human being without an escape route planned. But modern dating apps are designed to do the exact opposite. They're designed to keep you swiping, keep you searching, keep you believing that the perfect match is just around the corner if you keep looking. Let me share something that might make you uncomfortable. The dating apps you're using, they don't actually want you to find lasting love. Their business model depends on you staying single and staying on the app. Think about it. If everyone who used the app found a great relationship and deleted it, the company would lose users and make less money. They need you to keep coming back. So the algorithm isn't optimized for your happiness. It's optimized for engagement. It shows you just enough promising matches to keep you hopeful, but never quite delivers on that promise. And there's another layer to this. Dating apps gamify human connection. You get little dopamine hits when you match with someone. It feels like winning. It feels like progress. But it's the same psychological mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. You're not actually getting closer to a meaningful relationship. You're just getting little rewards that keep you playing the game. What's talked a lot about the difference between pleasure and joy. Pleasure is short-lived. It's the hit, the rush, the instant gratification. Joy is deeper. It comes from real connection, from being truly seen by another person, from vulnerability and intimacy that develops over time. Dating apps are built for pleasure, not joy. They give you the quick hit of validation when someone swipes right on you. But they're not designed to help you build the kind of deep, authentic connection that actually makes you feel fulfilled. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Modern dating culture has convinced you that you need to optimize yourself before you're worthy of love. You need the right photos, the right bio, the right job, the right body, the right hobbies. You're told to work on yourself, improve yourself, become the best version of yourself, and then maybe you'll be good enough to find someone. But this creates a strange paradox. If you're always working on becoming good enough, when are you ever actually ready? When are you ever allowed to just be yourself and be loved for who you are right now? We call this the ego trap. The ego is the part of you that's always comparing, always judging, always trying to prove your worth. The ego looks at dating as a competition. It wants to win. It wants to be chosen. It wants to be validated. But real love, the kind what's talked about, has nothing to do with the ego. Real love is what happens when two people drop their masks and meet each other as they actually are, not as they're trying to appear. Think about your dating profile for a moment. How much of it is really you? And how much of it is a carefully crafted version of you designed to appeal to the largest number of people? You choose photos where you look your best. You write a bio that highlights your most attractive qualities. You present yourself as fun, adventurous, successful, interesting. And there's nothing wrong with putting your best foot forward. But here's the problem. When you finally meet someone in person, you have to maintain that image. You can't just relax and be yourself, because you've already set an expectation. This is exhausting, and it's one of the main reasons why modern dating feels so empty. You're not actually connecting with people. You're performing for them. They're performing for you. Everyone's playing a role, and nobody's being real. What's said that the biggest barrier to love is the fear of showing who you really are? Because what if they don't like the real you? What if the mask is more attractive than the face underneath? So you keep the mask on, they keep theirs on, and you both walk away feeling like something was missing. There's also the issue of what's called the future projection. Most people aren't really on a date with the person sitting across from them. They're on a date with their projection of who that person might become. They're looking at this stranger and asking, could this person be my partner? Could I see myself with them long term? Are they successful enough? Attractive enough? Interesting enough? Will they fit into my life? Will my friends like them? What would our kids look like? All of these questions pull you out of the present moment. You're not experiencing the person in front of you. You're analyzing them as a potential life partner after knowing them for 30 minutes. This is insane when you really think about it. You're trying to make a huge decision based on almost no information. And because you're so focused on evaluating them, you never actually connect with them. What's taught that the only moment that exists is right now. The past is memory. The future is imagination. The only thing that's real is this present moment. And love, real love, can only happen right now. Not in some projected future. Not once you've checked all the boxes and confirmed compatibility. Right now, with this person, in this moment. But modern dating trains you to do the opposite. It trains you to treat every date as an audition for a role in your future, instead of as a chance to simply be with another human being. Let's go deeper into what's actually taught about relationships, because this is where things get really interesting. What's said that the Western idea of romantic love is based on a fundamental misunderstanding. We think of love as a feeling that happens to us. We fall in love, like falling into a hole. We're struck by Cupid's arrow. Love is portrayed as something beyond our control, a force that overtakes us. And once that feeling fades, which it inevitably does, we think the love is gone. But in Eastern philosophy, which heavily influenced Watts, love is not a feeling. It's an action. It's something you do, not something that happens to you. This might sound less romantic, but stay with me because this is actually incredibly freeing. If love is a choice, an action, a practice, then you're not at the mercy of your emotions. You're not waiting for lightning to strike. You're not dependent on finding that one perfect person who makes you feel a certain way. Instead, love becomes about how you show up for another person. It's about attention, presence, kindness, patience, understanding. These are things you can choose to offer, regardless of how you feel in any given moment. And here's the beautiful part. When you approach love as something you do rather than something you feel, it actually creates deeper feelings over time. The action of loving someone creates the emotion of love, not the other way around. Think about how different this is from modern dating culture. Right now, you're probably waiting to feel that spark, that instant chemistry, that undeniable attraction. And if you don't feel it immediately, you move on. You swipe to the next person. But what if real connection doesn't work that way? What if the deepest relationships develop slowly over time, through shared experiences and consistent presence and vulnerability? What if you're walking away from potentially amazing connections because they don't give you an instant high? What's also talked about the illusion of the separate self? This is a big concept, so let me break it down. Most of us walk through life feeling like we're isolated individuals, separate from everyone else. You're you, I'm me, they're them. We're all disconnected units, trying to find another unit that fits with us. Like puzzle pieces looking for our match. But what said this is an illusion? At the deepest level, we're not separate at all. We're all part of the same whole. The same universe experiencing itself through billions of different perspectives. When you really understand this, it changes everything about how you approach relationships. You stop looking for someone to complete you because you realize you were never incomplete. You stop trying to fill a void inside yourself with another person because you understand that the void itself is an illusion. You stop seeing relationships as transactions where you give certain things and expect certain things in return. Instead, you start seeing relationship as a way of experiencing yourself more fully through connection with another. This is the opposite of how dating apps frame relationships. Dating apps are built on the idea that you're incomplete and you need to find your other half. They ask you to list what you're looking for in a partner, as if love is about finding someone who meets your requirements. They encourage you to think of relationships as a need that must be filled. But what's would say this approach guarantees suffering? Because you're placing the responsibility for your happiness onto another person, and no one can carry that weight. Here's something else what's talked about that's incredibly relevant to modern dating. He said that trying too hard to achieve something often prevents you from achieving it. He used the example of trying to fall asleep. If you lie in bed thinking, I need to fall asleep, I need to fall asleep, I must fall asleep, you'll stay awake all night. Sleep comes when you stop trying and just let yourself drift. The same is true for love. When you're desperately looking for a relationship, when you're swiping compulsively, when you're going on multiple dates a week, when your entire focus is on finding someone, you're actually pushing love away. There's an energy of neediness and desperation that people can sense. And ironically, people tend to meet their partners when they stop looking, when they're focused on their own life, their own interests, their own growth, when they're content being alone. That's when real connection tends to happen naturally. But here's the trap. You can't try to stop trying. You can't force yourself to be content alone as a strategy to find someone, because that's just another form of trying too hard. This is what's called the double bind. The solution can't be achieved by effort, but also can't be achieved by trying not to make effort. The only way out is to genuinely let go, to genuinely be okay with whatever happens, to genuinely stop caring about the outcome. This is incredibly difficult in a culture that tells you that being single means something is wrong with you, that tells you that your worth is tied to your relationship status, that treats being in a relationship as an achievement and being single as a failure. But what's would say that this entire framework is backwards? Your relationship status has nothing to do with your value as a human being. You're not broken if you're single. You're not fixed if you're in a relationship. Let's talk about another aspect of modern dating that would find troubling: the focus on compatibility. Dating apps ask you about your interests, values, lifestyle preferences. They try to match you with people who are similar to you. The assumption is that compatibility leads to happiness. If you both like hiking and Thai food and want 2 kids, you'll make a great couple, right? But what's taught that opposites often attract for a good reason. Differences create growth. Tension creates transformation. When you're with someone who sees the world differently than you do, it challenges you. It forces you to question your assumptions. It expands your perspective. A relationship where everyone agrees on everything might sound peaceful, but it's also stagnant. There's no friction to create heat, no challenge to inspire growth. Of course, there are certain values that need to align. If one person wants kids and the other doesn't, that's a real incompatibility. But modern dating culture has taken this to an extreme. People reject potential partners over minor differences. Different taste in music, different political views, different ideas about how to spend a Saturday night. We've become so focused on finding someone who's exactly like us that we're missing out on the richness that comes from difference. Watts also had a lot to say about the nature of desire. He said that desire is a trick of the mind. You think you want something, and you believe that getting it will make you happy. But as soon as you get it, the desire shifts to something else. You wanted to match with someone attractive. You did. Now you want them to message you back. They do. Now you want them to ask you out. They do. Now you want the date to go well. It does. Now you want a second date. You get it. Now you want them to commit to being exclusive. And on and on. The goalposts keep moving. You're never satisfied because satisfaction isn't actually the goal. The goal is the chase. The goal is the wanting. And dating apps exploit this perfectly. They keep you in a state of perpetual desire. Always looking. Always hoping. Always believing that the next match might be the one. But it never is. Not because the people aren't good enough, but because the entire game is designed to keep you playing, not to let you win. Watts said that the way out of this trap is to want what you already have, to find contentment in the present moment, to stop constantly reaching for the next thing and appreciate what's right in front of you. This doesn't mean settling. It doesn't mean staying in bad relationships. It means cultivating gratitude and presence. It means being fully engaged with your life as it is right now, not as you hope it might be someday. Here's another thing that Watts understood that modern dating culture has forgotten. Vulnerability is the doorway to intimacy. You can't have real connection without real vulnerability. But vulnerability is risky. When you open up to someone, when you show them who you really are, you risk rejection. You risk judgment. You risk getting hurt. So most people play it safe. They keep things surface level. They maintain emotional distance. They protect themselves. And dating apps make this even worse because there's always another option. If being vulnerable with this person doesn't work out, you can just move on to someone else. There's no reason to take the risk. But here's what happens when you avoid vulnerability. You end up in shallow relationships that feel empty. You have connection without intimacy. You have companionship without depth. You're with someone, but you're also profoundly alone because they don't really know you, and you don't really know them. Watts would say that this is the most painful kind of loneliness. It's not being alone. It's being with someone and still feeling alone. And the only way to bridge that gap is to drop your defenses, to be honest about your fears, your insecurities, your past, your struggles, to let someone see you not as you wish you were, but as you actually are. This is terrifying, but it's also the only way to experience real love. So here's where everything comes together. Modern dating feels empty because it's built on a series of illusions. The illusion that more options means better outcomes. The illusion that you can find a perfect match. The illusion that love is a feeling that happens to you. The illusion that compatibility can be calculated. The illusion that you need to be perfect before you're worthy of love. The illusion that your happiness depends on finding the right person. Alan Watts spent his life trying to wake people up from these kinds of illusions. He wanted people to see through the stories their minds tell them and experience reality as it actually is. And when you see through the illusions of modern dating, something shifts. You stop looking for love and start being love. You stop trying to find the right person and start being the right person. You stop treating relationships as a goal to achieve and start seeing them as an experience to have. This is the key insight that changes everything. You've been taught that relationships are about finding someone who makes you happy. But what would say it's actually the reverse? Relationships are about you making yourself happy and then sharing that happiness with someone else. If you're miserable when you're single, you'll be miserable when you're in a relationship. You'll just be miserable with company. The relationship doesn't fix you. It reveals you. It shows you who you really are. It brings all your patterns, all your wounds, all your fears to the surface. This is why people who rush from relationship to relationship keep having the same problems. They think the problem is finding the right person, but the problem is actually within themselves. And until they face that, until they do the work of becoming whole and healthy on their own, they'll keep repeating the same patterns. What's called this the eternal recurrence. You keep living the same experience over and over until you learn the lesson it's trying to teach you. So what's the lesson of modern dating? What's it trying to teach you? Maybe it's that you can't swipe your way to happiness. Maybe it's that real connection requires presence and vulnerability. Maybe it's that you already have everything you need within yourself. Maybe it's that love isn't something you find out there. It's something you cultivate in here. When you understand this, dating becomes completely different. You stop judging people based on their profile. You stop keeping score. You stop comparing options. You stop performing. You stop projecting into the future. You just show up as yourself and meet other people as themselves. Sometimes there's connection. Sometimes there isn't. Either way, it's okay. Because your happiness doesn't depend on the outcome. This is what's meant when he talked about letting go. Not letting go of the desire for love. That would be suppression. But letting go of the attachment to a specific outcome. Let go of needing it to happen a certain way. Let go of needing it to happen at all. When you can truly do this, when you can be genuinely okay, whether you meet someone or not, that's when you become truly available for real connection. And here's the paradox. The less you need a relationship, the more likely you are to have a good one. The less you're trying to impress someone, the more impressive you become. The less you're performing, the more attractive you are. Because people can feel authenticity. They can sense when someone is comfortable in their own skin. And that quality is magnetic in a way that perfectly curated photos and witty bios never are. So, what does all of this mean for you right now? As someone trying to navigate modern dating, it means you have a choice. You can keep playing the game the way everyone else is playing it. Keep swiping. Keep optimizing your profile. Keep going on dates with strangers, hoping one of them will be different. Keep treating people like options and wondering why everything feels so empty. Or you can do something radical. You can opt out of the entire paradigm. Opting out doesn't mean giving up on love. It means giving up on the endless search. It means deleting the apps, not because you're bitter or defeated, but because you recognize they're not serving you. It means focusing on your actual life instead of your dating life. It means pursuing your interests, building your community, creating meaningful experiences. It means being where you are, not where you think you should be. And when you do this, something interesting happens. You become more interesting. You have more to talk about. You have more energy. You have more to offer. You're not depleted from the constant rejection and disappointment of dating apps. You're fulfilled by your life. And ironically, this is when you're most likely to meet someone. Not through an app, but through living your life. Through your hobbies, your friends, your work, your passions. Alan Watts would tell you that the greatest love story isn't about finding your soulmate. It's about falling in love with life itself. When you're in love with your own existence, when you find joy in ordinary moments, when you're fascinated by the world around you, that's when you become truly attractive. Not in a superficial way, in a deep way. People want to be around you because you're alive. You're present. You're real. This is so rare these days. Most people are walking around half asleep, lost in their phones, lost in their thoughts, lost in their anxieties about the future. But when you wake up, when you really inhabit your life, people notice. They're drawn to it. Because everyone wants to feel more alive, and being around someone who is alive reminds them that it's possible. So maybe the answer to why modern dating feels empty is simple. It's empty because you're not really there. You're swiping while watching TV. You're on a date, but checking your phone. You're with someone, but thinking about someone else. You're talking, but not listening. You're looking, but not seeing. You're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. What if you tried something different? What if you were fully present? What if you gave people your complete attention? What if you listened not to respond, but to understand? What if you asked questions out of genuine curiosity? What if you shared honestly instead of strategically? What if you treated every person you met as a complete human being instead of a potential partner? This is what's meant by living in the now. It's not some mystical concept. It's incredibly practical. It's about being where you are, doing what you're doing, feeling what you're feeling, not thinking about what happened yesterday or what might happen tomorrow. Just being here, now, with whatever is. And when you can do this, when you can really do this, dating isn't frustrating anymore. It's not a chore. It's not a source of anxiety. It's just meeting people. Sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's chemistry. Sometimes there isn't. But none of it has the power to make you feel inadequate or unworthy or broken. Because you know that your value has nothing to do with whether someone swipes right on you. What's said that life is not a journey to a destination. It's a dance. You don't dance to get somewhere. You dance because dancing is the point. The same is true for relationships. You don't date to reach some finish line called marriage. You date to connect with people, to learn about yourself, to experience intimacy and vulnerability and joy and sometimes pain. The experience itself is the point, not where it leads. Modern dating culture has forgotten this. Everything is goal-oriented. First date, second date, exclusive, serious relationship, engagement, marriage. Like levels in a video game. But what if you stopped thinking about levels and just enjoyed the game? What if you stopped trying to lock things down and let things unfold naturally? What if you trusted that if something is meant to develop, it will, without you forcing it? This requires an enormous amount of trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in life. Trust in the process. And that's scary because you can't control outcomes. You can't guarantee that things will work out the way you want. But here's the truth that what's kept trying to share. You never had that control anyway. It was always an illusion. The more you try to control love, the more it slips through your fingers. So let go, not of love itself, but of your grip on it. Let be what it is. Let people be who they are. Let yourself be who you are. Stop trying so hard. Stop forcing things. Stop overthinking. Just be. And in that being, in that presence, in that openness, you create space for real connection to emerge. Not the manufactured connection of dating apps. Real connection. The kind that nourishes you. The kind that helps you grow. The kind that makes you more yourself, not less. This is what Alan Watts was pointing to all along. Love isn't something you find. It's something you are. It's not out there. It's in here. And when you realize this, when you really get it, modern dating doesn't feel empty anymore. Because you're not empty. You're full. You're complete. And from that place of fullness, whatever relationships come into your life are a bonus, not a necessity. There's something to celebrate, not something to chase. So the next time you feel that emptiness, that frustration, that sense that something's missing, don't reach for your phone to start swiping. Sit with it. Feel it. Ask yourself what you're really looking for. Chances are, it's not another date. It's not another match. It's not another person at all. It's connection with yourself. It's presence in your own life. It's the courage to be alone without being lonely. It's the freedom that comes from knowing you're enough, just as you are right now. Alan Watts said it best. He said, "You are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. You can change your approach to dating right now. This moment, you can stop playing the game that's making you miserable. You can choose presence over performance, authenticity over optimization, being over trying. And in that choice, you might just discover that what you were looking for all along was already here, not in someone else, in you." If this changed how you see dating, watch the next video.